If you enjoy taking a shit while scrolling on your phone, there's a small town in upstate New York you owe a thank you to. From the Civil War and the first use of industrial electricity, to the Brooklyn Bridge, electric motors, and even your smart device. Yeah, so essentially this place was like the Atlantis of its time. You see, back in the 1800s, iron in the East was like California's gold in the West. So much so that they actually referenced it as the Iron Coast instead of the Golden Coast. And where there's money in the mountains, trust me, there's beef. Think like Hatfields and McCoys, just less teeth and more iron. Sure, the toothbrush was invented here because most people I see walking around still only have one tooth anyway. In Crown Point, New York, you had two families that ended up rising to the top of the iron industry. The Penfields and the Hammonds. Specifically, Allen Penfield and Charles Hammond. Then, in 1831, they meet a guy named Joseph Henry. He's basically a wizard. Joseph figures out how to insulate wire and builds the first coil. With this, he's able to improve upon the electromagnet, boosting its lifting power from a previous 9 pounds to a substantial 760 pounds now. You know, no big deal, just casually inventing the fucking electrical age over here. They start using this magnet in production. This marks the first recorded use of electricity in industry ever in the US. Therefore, the iron business explodes, but success attracts rivals. Jump to 1845, Allen and Charles squash their beef and co-found the Crown Point Iron Company. Then, in 1861, the Civil War breaks out. Charles' oldest son, John Hammond, ends up being shipped off to war, and he ends up commanding the 5th Cavalry. But Charles, being the respectable dad he is, cannot watch his son ride some glue factory reject, so he ends up going out and buying enough horses for the entire unit. And what kind of horses does he go out and buy? Black Hawk Morgans. Go ahead and fact check me. I'm not making that up. And the best part? Here's what the bill cost him. Back in 1861, it cost him a whopping $24,000 for these horses. He bought roughly about 108, 109 of them. In today's money, that's $907,000 that this man paid for horses. So John rolls into the war with his DLC Black Hawk Morgan that he's got, that he's riding, and so are the rest of his buddies. And after an intense battle at Hanover, Pennsylvania, he ends up capturing a Confederate colonel and 75 of his troops. This helped delay the Confederates at Gettysburg, ultimately changing the tide of the war. Then later in the war at Cold Harbor, he gets shot in the sword. It doesn't go through his sword, but it shatters his leg. He then escapes the Confederate army by taking his Black Hawk Morgan and flying it over a 15-foot ditch. So essentially, dude's running around like it's full, you know, Red Dead Redemption style, just winning the war for us and whatnot. After the war, John returns back to Crown Point and kind of just, you know, dives back into the iron business. So from this tiny little town in upstate New York, buried deep in the Adirondacks, came the birthplace of the electrical age, steel for the USS Monitor, first Civil War ship, steel for the Brooklyn Bridge cables, General John Hammond, and honestly, that's not even like a portion of the story. I skipped so much of this stuff because I respect your guys' attention spans. And because if I didn't stop, I'm pretty sure my wife was going to kill me if she heard one more fact about this story. So, therefore, next time you're sitting on the shitter and you're doom scrolling, you can think about this little tiny town in upstate New York that made that possible for you. Also, you know, if you guys learned something or even laughed a little bit at this, I'd really appreciate it if you'd hit the like button. I checked for you. It is completely free to do. And here's a cool kicker for you. Remember Henry the White Wizard and his magnet? Well, every electric motor that there is also ties back to that magnet right there.